There's something about feeling scared that keeps us coming back for more. That's why haunted attractions that pop up every Halloween are such huge hits. These places, however, are not attractions, and according to many, the hauntings and danger are real. From unfinished mansions abandoned due to a broken heart to the most haunted house in the US. Make sure you stick around with us to the end for that one. Here are the 10 scariest places you shouldn't visit. Number 10. Kellie's Castle, Malaysia. This unfinished mansion, built in a Moorish revival and Indo-Saracenic style, was started by a Scottish planter named William Kellie Smith. It was meant to be a gift to his wife, but sadly he died of pneumonia in Lisbon, Portugal, where he was visiting to purchase a lift for the property. After his death, neither his wife nor his children could bear to return to the unfinished mansion. And on top of that, other family didn't wish to return to Malaysia, so it was left to decay and soon become derelict. But it would seem that other, mostly unworldly personalities have chosen the site to be their home. Photographers visiting the area for its nature and wildlife have claimed to see ghostly figures standing by the window frames. The man himself, Mr. Kellie Smith, despite dying in Portugal, is still said to haunt the second-floor hallway. He's no doubt rather disappointed that his grand vision was never completed. The place still stands today, and you can actually book private tours of the area. That is, if you dare. Number 9. Chaonei Church, Beijing, China. Chaonei 81, commonly known as Chaonei Church, was first built in 1910. Despite the name and how I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it, it's not actually a church. It was originally the North China Union Language School to teach Mandarin Chinese to missionaries from the West. Ooh, I could use that right about now. From the 1930s, it served as a Catholic church until the communist government took control of the building in the 1950s. Everything that we know about the building's history is but pure conjecture at this point. Truth be told, there's still quite a bit unknown about the building's true origins. One particularly grisly tale about Chaonei Church origin suggests it was home for a Chinese National Party official in 1949. Needless to say, that story didn't end well. It's said that the official's wife took her own life in the house, and her spirit continues to roam the empty, abandoned halls. Another story tells of 3 construction workers who broke into the building, only to disappear from the face of the earth. The house sits today abandoned and is considered to be the most haunted place in Beijing. It's also said that the temperature inside the building is always significantly colder than the outside. Number 8. The Langham Hotel, London. The century-and-a-half-old Langham Hotel has been a staple of the high life in London. Literary legends Oscar Wilde and Mark Twain frequently stayed there. On top of that, this luxurious hotel also provides the backdrop for a famous Sherlock story, A Scandal in Belgravia, by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Renamed as the Langham Hilton in 1991 after a $100 million renovation, the hotel remains one of London's most iconic hotels, which doesn't only cater to the rich and famous, but also to the famous dead. Reports have suggested that there are at least 5 ghosts in the 500-room establishment, with room number 333 rumored to be the most haunted of all. Given the size of the hotel and its lengthy history, you could potentially run into any number of spirits. However, your haunting encounter could potentially be with one of the Langham's most esteemed ghostly guests, such as Napoleon III, the first president of France, or a German nobleman, who was said to have taken his own life in the hotel. Number 7. La Recoleta Cemetery, Buenos Aires. Located in the Recoleta neighborhood of Buenos Aires, the Cementerio de la Recoleta is regarded as one of the most beautiful cemeteries in the world. Built in 1822, it is full of ornately designed tombs, elaborate sculptures, and mature shady trees. Buenos Aires' famous dead are actually buried here, including actress Eva Perón, the former First Lady of Argentina. Here are reportedly multiple spirits wandering the aisles of Recoleta. One of the most famous stories is of Rufina Cambaceres, a wealthy 19-year-old woman and daughter of a famous author. Stories say that heavy rain postponed her burial. When the groundskeeper returned to the tomb to lay her to rest once the weather cleared, he found Rufina's coffin lid ajar, with scratch marks on the inside. It said that she had been buried alive and woke in her coffin after suffering a case of catalepsy. Another spirit that roams the ground is said to be that of David Aleno, a gravedigger who worked at the cemetery for 30 years. According to the stories, he waited until the building of his own tomb was finished before taking his own life. People say you can still hear the clattering of his keys as he roams the grounds of the cemetery. Number 6. The separate prison, Port Arthur, Australia. Until the late 1800s, the separate prison in Tasmania's secluded Port Arthur housed some of Britain's toughest criminals. The separate prison operated a silent system, where prisoners were hooded, placed in solitary confinement, and forbidden to speak to anyone. Conditions were apparently so unbearable that countless inmates would murder their fellow prisoners. They'd rather face the death penalty than spend another minute there. Ironically enough, the prison still won't let them go after death. It's said that hundreds of hooded inmates prowl the grounds at night. That's already a lot for any haunted location, but that number is low considering the thousands of people buried in unmarked graves in the surrounding area. Today, the site is a museum and is open to the public. It even embraces its haunted reputation by conducting nightly ghost tours. Number 5. The Hellfire Club, Montpelier Hill, Ireland. The Hellfire Club was a hunting lodge built in 1925 for William Connolly, an Irish parliamentary speaker. The stones of the buildings are from ancient passage tombs, and it's said that this rather strange choice of building material angered the devil himself, forever associating the site with the supernatural. But it doesn't stop there. It later became a gathering place for a small group of Dublin elites who met for debauchery and devil worship. Tales of animal sacrifice, black masses, cloven-hoofed men, and murder are linked to the place. The most popular story tells of a visit by a satanic creature in the form of a man. This man then visited the Hellfire Club for a game of cards. One of the players dropped a card and, upon picking it up, noticed the guest had cloven feet. Upon the discovery, the guest reportedly disappeared in a massive ball of flame. The Hellfire Club is a popular stopping point on a walking trail through the Dublin Hills. Ghost tours of the site are also available for people who have a thirst for the supernatural. In these tours, you might come across a spectral black cat reported to haunt the place, or even the spirit of a young lady believed to have been placed in a barrel, set on fire, and rolled down the hill for fun. Number 4. The Castle of Good Hope, Cape Town, South Africa. Built in the 17th century by the Dutch East India Company, the Castle of Good Hope is South Africa's oldest building, and probably even the most haunted. The castle is now a popular tourist attraction with 3 prestigious museums, as well as a memorial to Kretoa, the leader of the Khoi Nation. Perhaps it's this long history that provides the fuel for all its reported hauntings. The first ghost was spotted in 1915 when the apparition of a tall gentleman was seen jumping off the side of one of the castle walls. Don't worry too much about this guy, because he was then seen walking between the Bashans Leerdam and Orange. Another famous ghost, the Lady in Grey, was often seen running through the castle, holding her face and crying hysterically. But she's not been seen since a woman's body was found during the excavations. Other unexplained events include the bell in the bell tower ringing of its own accord, and the ghost of a black dog that pounces on unsuspecting visitors, then simply vanishes into thin air. Number 3. The Ancient Ram Inn, Gloucestershire, England. Despite being well known as one of the most haunted places in the world, featuring on TV programs such as Moe's Haunted and Ghost Adventures, the inn still attracts a lot of visitors, even ones who attempt to stay one night. I say attempt because this place is so haunted, visitors more often than not are forced to leave in the middle of the night by the many spirits there. Built in 1145, the inn was used by priests who kept slaves and workers in there to help build the St. Mary's Church. It's widely believed that the redirecting of water on the ancient Ram property caused a portal for dark energy to open up. This meant that many ghosts could haunt the inn. The witch's room is said to be haunted by a woman burned at the stake in the 1500s as she was accused of being a witch. On top of that, you have a priestess that's been spotted sitting on a bed, a centurion on horseback that's been seen walking through the walls, the agonizing screams of a girl, a monk in the most haunted room, and even a succubus is said to slip into the beds of visitors. That one costs extra. Now it's time for the day's best pick. Personally, I wouldn't go down a road that looks like this, whether it's reported haunted or not. However, you might find the fray quite the adrenaline rush. I want to know where this place is. If you do, find out more next with number 2. Boy Scout Lane. Boy Scout Lane is an isolated small rural street located in Linwood, Portage County, Wisconsin, USA. It's one of the top haunted roads in the world and has been the subject of several paranormal investigations. This has been a pretty famous haunt for youths hoping to experience a paranormal event. It was given its name because of a tragic incident involving a troop of Boy Scouts that were killed while on a camping trip in the 1950s or 60s. It's said that the desolate road is now haunted by the ghosts of the Boy Scouts who died there. It's a stretch of unpaved road that runs through the woods, with little around it to recommend itself. but many will still often wander down it, curious to see whether the stories connected to it are true.